Meidig of the English department, and if you like what you see here, give a big round of applause to everybody who's had some part of it. We have a shortened hour today, so we're going to get right to it. The first reader up is Mr. Paul Radick.
All right. Yeah, students are right. This is really nerve-wracking. This is exciting. Shout out to the Arts Fest or the Art Club students who made the banner from last year and this year on the podium. That's a new addition, so a handful of Art Club kids did that. Most of my writing comes from the writing that I'm going to share comes from a very specific prompt. There's a sports talk radio show called Boers and Bernstein. It's on 670 The Score, and they do a weekly segment that's called Who You Crappin'? And it's based off a post-game interview between one of the hosts of the show, Terry Boers, when he was a beat reporter for the Chicago Bears. And it was a post-game interview that he did with Coach Mike Ditka. So I'm going to have the booth play the audio exchange. That's kind of the genesis of the segment. So if you could play that, please.
One of the things, Mike, that's been pointed out over the course of today and last night after the game is that you seemed resigned to the fate after the game, that there wasn't much fire in you, and you sort of stood up before the media and said, well, you know, this is the way it is. Are you resigned to this fate? You're the same guy who wrote about me when I did have the fire, that was the wrong thing to do. So who you crapping? Well, I'm just asking.
So that's the intro to the bit. Terry Boers wrote about him that he wasn't fiery enough on the sideline, and then Mike Ditka called him out that he was too fiery the week before. So the essence of the segment is you note the instance, you analyze and editorialize it, and then you ask the person who did it who you crapping. So I've written a bunch of them, I've submitted a few, and I've been on the air a few times. And here's one. I'll start off one from November 12th of this year. In the first half of the Bulls-Thunder game, Charles Barkley disagreed with the decision to bring Joakim Noah off the bench, saying that the former Defensive Player of the Year has been one of his favorites for a long time, specifically citing that his energy and excitement, like that of former Bull Tyson Chandler's, are underrated, and that he would have loved to have played with them, that they both play at a high level the entire time they're on the floor. Early in the third quarter, Sir Charles continued his second quarter criticism of Russell Westbrook, noting that it was important for him to slow his game down. You can't just get on the floor and go 100% all the time. Huh? I thought the reason you want Noah and Chandler on your team is because they play at a high level, 100% of the time. Charles then told Reggie that superstars should want to play with other superstars, like Charles teaming with Noah and Chandler instead of perennial all-star Russell Westbrook. 2 questions for the round mound of ringless announcing teams. What's the lexical equivalent of shacked a fool, and who you crapping? So that was the first one. This is a more recent reaction. This was a couple weeks ago, and it's from writer Chris Chase, and it's from the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 50 has come and gone. In Fox Sports, Chris Chase bemoaned that Monday morning stories should be about Peyton Manning winning his second Super Bowl, but instead stories would be focusing on Cam forcing himself to the center of attention. That's great, Chris. I look forward to reading your piece celebrating Peyton Manning's Super Bowl victory. Was Chris's article to talk about how humble Manning resurged from his midseason benching? Perhaps Chris focused on Peyton's last rodeo and reflecting on his Hall of Fame career. So what was Chris Chase's article, bucking the trend of Carolina quarterback-centric articles? It was, Cam Newton's image took the biggest hit of all during the Super Bowl. If only the hypocrisies ended at writing an article about what you wished people weren't writing articles about. But in Chris's piece, he wrote, it took 3 minutes, 3 childish, sulking minutes for Cam Newton to completely undo all the goodwill he'd created this NFL season, giving a man isn't judged by how he handles his success, but his defeats. And in that way, Cam came up short. Now, from my perspective, after a near historic season, but coming up short in arguably the only game that truly matters, Cam was curt with the media. He gave yes and no answers to poorly worded yes or no questions. I personally blame the askers. I get it though. Chris thinks Cam should not be so bitter. He should have provided scripted answers about his opponent, God, family, and Budweiser. He should have handled himself like a franchise quarterback, like the MVP face of the league. He should be upholding the NFL shield. He should handle himself like the Colts quarterback did in 2010. After the Colts' 31-17 defeat to the Saints in Super Bowl 45, the future Hall of Famer Peyton Manning left the field without the requisite congratulatory quarterback embrace of Drew Brees and the camera-ready post-game pleasantries. For shame, Peyton. Now that would be damaging to your image. WWCCS, what would Chris Chase say? Luckily, we have the internets to see just how then the Yahoo Sports columnist reacted. Chris Chase said in that article, it wasn't at all disrespectful or bitter. It shows how much Peyton Manning wanted to win the game. And who can argue about that? Shaking hands would show him to be a good actor and indifferent about the result. What would people have preferred Peyton do? Laugh off the loss with apathy and treat the victors to dinner after? This isn't Little League. Hall of Fames don't include guys who don't care. Being a sportsman is playing fair and giving credit to an opponent. I got it, Chris. Peyton, not congratulating his opponent, was a winner with a desire for sustained greatness. Cam, who met Peyton at midfield after the game but had bad body language and gave short answers to bad questions, is childish, sulking, and petulant. This is confusing. Being rude to players, acceptable because you desire to be a winner. Being rude to media, unacceptable because you're a loser. So Chris Chase, maybe you're jealous that Cam Newton didn't give you a touchdown ball this season, and who you crapping? They're not always sports related. This crap goes out to omnipresent home improvement expert and former Miami Jackson High School bullpen catcher Robert Vila. In his article, 7 Smart Ways to Cycle Through Laundry Faster, R. Joseph Vila offered these 2 gems. Number 6, resist opening the dryer door. It releases hot air and adds to your drying time. And number 7, throw in a big dry towel, then halfway through the cycle, open the door and remove the slightly damp towel. I just hope I can resist the urge to open the door. Oh, wait. 2 questions for Captain Bobo. Does anybody watch This Old House, and who you crapping? This last one is from earlier this year. It was there on Wednesdays. There were 3 people on the show. There's a guy named Hub Arkish, who's a Bears sports reporter, as well as Dan and Terry, who host the show. So this was after a call-in segment on Wednesday. On Tuesday afternoon, NFL and Packer conversation turned to Eddie Lacy's weight gain this season. Terry recommended he push himself away from the table. Hub insisted next year there will be competition for the position within the team, and Dan yelled the competition should come from Kobayashi. Dan was, of course, referring to the disgraced competitive eater's ability to consume N volume, as last shown in 2011 when he devoured a 2-foot bratwurst on Kaibata roll dubbed the Schamburger at a Flyers game. But the conversation was clearly about Lacy's size, not his eating. To challenge the ballooning Lambeau tailback for the Brat Tito or Bacon Jam Grilled Cheese Championships, Dan passed on more recent hot dog champ, 230-pound Joey Chestnut, or 400-pound Eric Badlands Booker, in favor of Kobayashi, who at 128 is over 100 pounds lighter than Eddie's list weight and the smallest Nathan's winner since Hirofumi Nakajima. Dan Bernstein, 2 questions. Can Terry eat 165 pierogi in 8 minutes? And who you crapping? So, thanks for being a polite and great audience. And up next from the English department is Steve Cavalieri.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you. Let's adjust my mic here. All right. Okay, here we go. Dogs, man's best friend, my worst enemy. It doesn't matter how many times someone tells me it's okay, he won't bite, or he's harmless, He just wants you to pet him, give him a little attention, and eventually he will move on. Nope, no thank you. I'll stick to cowering in fear until you lock the devil beast up. Where exactly does my fear of dogs originate? Maybe it was because I only grew up with fish. Kenny and Cal mostly floated around the top of the tank and never really tried ripping your face off. Although the one time my brother's hermit crab escaped the fish tank and hid by the base of the toilet in my bathroom was pretty terrifying. Probably should adjust my mic. My fear actually begins on a sunny summer afternoon when Mark Lindemann invites me to his house to shoot some hoops. I'm excited. I like basketball and don't have a net of my own. Mark says, just open the gate, come to the backyard, you'll see us shooting around. Got it. Easy enough. I can handle that. I approach the gate, open the latch, walk through, excited to finally arrange some threes on everybody. As soon as I close the gate behind me, I hear a clattering on the blacktop. Then I see it. A 50-pound black and white husky charging at me, barking like it had lost its mind. No time to reopen the gate and close it to prevent the dog from escaping the backyard. My only option is to hop this fence. I immediately scramble up the chain link fence, but at the top, the leg of my shorts catches. Instead of landing safely, I rip my shorts and faceplant onto the blacktop. My friends come running around the corner, shaking with laughter. I'm shaking too, but with terror. I go home and never return to Mark's backyard of nightmares. One experience isn't so bad, but when it happens again, Matt McNicholas invites me over one cold winter day to play some video games and watch his Monty Python movie. Great. I've never heard of this Monty Python fellow, and I do like video games. I ring the doorbell. Matt answers. I walk inside. The house is wide open with a long, tiled pathway from the front of the house all the way to the kitchen. To my right is a carpeted pathway leading to the bedrooms, and then to my left is another carpeted section that has some couches and a coffee table. Nice digs, Matt. Then it happens again. Strolling out from the kitchen, I see their very own version of Cujo, a 100-pound Doberman Pinscher. He pauses, recognizes the fear in my eyes, and smiles. He breaks into a dead sprint. I panic. Matt panics. Get on the carpet! Get on the carpet! I'm not sure why Matt is yelling at me, but I don't know what else to do, so I get on the carpet. The dog skids to a halt in front of me. Matt says, close call. I'm confused, but I can't find my voice to ask Matt any questions. I'm too fixated on Cujo, who is emitting a low, rumbling growl. He bares his teeth, and I stare in horror as drool drips from his jaw. I've never been so happy in my entire life to be standing on carpet. I want to get down on my hands and knees and kiss the beige, rough, coffee-stained carpet. Instead, I pray, please let the dog walk away. Please let the dog walk away. The dog stands up, and I believe my prayers have been answered. I start to relax. But to remind me that he's the one in charge, Cujo suddenly barks and starts pacing. I wet my pants. I peed my pants. I spend the rest of my day playing the most dangerous game of lava in my entire life. After an emotionally scarring day, I go home and never return to Matt's house of horrors. These two instances aren't the worst of my experiences with dogs. There's one more, and it still haunts me to this day. My mom begins teaching and is no longer able to pick me up from school. I walk an excruciating 0.8 miles home every day. Yes, it is uphill. It's up a lot of hills. I'm from a town called Hickory Hills. Hills everywhere. As much as I complain about the long, painstaking trek I make every Monday through Friday, I could get used to this. What I can't get used to is Satan's little helper that the neighbors 6 houses down from us own. Every day I walk by their house, and like clockwork, Satan's little helper is in the big bay window snarling at me. As soon as I would pass out of her eyesight, the manic barking would cease, and my nerves would begin to settle, but only a little. I can't tell if the dog is barking at me or if it's just rabid, so one day I conduct a little experiment. In their front yard, there's a long, tall row of evergreen bushes, well above 5 feet, that act as a natural fence. When I approach the house, I stop at the last bush, press my back up against it, and peer around the corner like I had seen on Scooby-Doo before. As soon as my head clears the bushes, the dog breaks into a rage of barking madness. It hates me. Fine. Well, I hate you too, dog. This is our routine every day. I walk by the house, Satan's little helper barks at me, I pass out of eyesight, she stops. As you can imagine, to my bad luck and your enjoyment, this all changed one fateful day. I'm walking home from school, and as I approach the hell den, the fiend is not in the window. I don't know whether to breathe a sigh of relief or to fear for my life. I breathe a sigh of relief. The dog, however, lets loose a battle cry that I can still hear to this day. She flies around the corner of the house in full attack mode. I scream. Not one to stand and fight, I immediately go into flight mode and take off running. Luckily, I had run through this scenario in my head numerous times to prepare myself for something like this. As I begin to run, I pull the backpack straps tight so the bag won't bounce all over my back and slow me down. Once I secure the straps firmly in my grasp, I transfer them to one hand. This frees up my right hand so I can pump my arm to help increase my speed. The final step is to lift the knees, lift the knees. I hope these strategies help me keep up the high speed I need to outrun this monster. Unfortunately, my simulations never covered an actual escape route other than just run as fast as you can. I need to think of something quick. The devil itself, reincarnate in the form of this terrifying 7-pound chihuahua, is gaining on me fast. I need help. I need a distraction. I need the owner to call the dog back. I need divine intervention. I need evergreen bushes. Our next door neighbors also have their own little wall of evergreen bushes, except theirs runs along the J-shaped path from the driveway to their front door. This is my escape plan. I cut up my neighbor's driveway and take a hard right onto the hedge-lined path. As I approach the curve in the path, I channel my inner Michael Jordan and jump as high and far as I can. I fly like an eagle till I'm free. I clear the bushes, no problem. I have mad hops. I stick the landing and hold it just in case the cute twins across the street are watching my amazing getaway. They aren't. I scramble across my lawn, enter the garage door code, and roll under the door because there's no time to waste. I'm finally safe. As much as I beg my mom to find a way to pick me up from school, I'm stuck walking home every day. I take extra precautions, though. My plan, for the most part, is the same. I would grab my backpack straps and keep the backpack tight against my back. Then I would transfer the steps to one hand and use the other arm to pump to get more speed. I would lift the knees, but then I would add the secret weapon, my smoke screen. I start to carry around slices of lunch meat in my pocket to distract the dog in case it gets out again. I would frisbee the lunch meat out as I ran. Frisbee, 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 frisbee. Frisbee. My fear of dogs would follow me until August 27th of 2014. That's right, I was terrified of dogs until 2 years ago. On that blistering hot summer day, my brother adopted his very own Siberian Husky. Exactly 1 year after that, we would adopt another dog, this one a Husky mix. I love both of our dogs more than anything. Rusty and Lola have taught me how awesome dogs are, and now I am a dog person. Well, maybe not fully. There are times when I can see that all too familiar look in their eyes. You know the look. The one that says, I could rip you apart in seconds if I wanted to. But this doesn't mean my adventures with dogs ends there. Not even close. In fact, Rusty did something around this time last year that myself, nor my family, will ever forget. But that's another story for another time. Thank you. Up next, we have Mr. John Summers.
Hello. Thanks for having me back. I was here a couple years ago. For those who don't know me, I am a teacher assistant in the special ed department by day, and by night I am work in the library and the media center, and also do private tutoring. In the summer I teach consumer ed, and on weekends I play in a band. And my off time I like to create. I write music, I write words, and some of this is the result of those. From being in the English classes the second time around in high school that I'm now in, I've gained a higher appreciation for English than I had the first time around. I write short stories called Twisted Tales. And they're fairly short, and there's a twist that hopefully is unexpected. And the first one I'm going to read to you is called A Soldier's Story. This is for the people who aren't young. Incoming! When the soldier heard that exclamation, every nerve and muscle in his body wanted to run. His rational thoughts were hard to hold on to, and he just wanted to react. He knew he had to keep a clear head during this life-changing moment. For months, he had been training for this. He has drilled over and over how to keep his head up and watch everything that was going on. Once he had started to see all the blood, he knew he couldn't pass out. He had to stay calm for the sake of everybody else. He steadied his rampant emotions and cleared his jumbled thoughts and focused. He was getting used to the mayhem that was in front of him, and it relaxed him further, until his partner yelled at him, "Why the hell aren't you doing something? You're not helping anyone. We're in this mess because of you." His partner was lying next to him in tremendous pain and looked like hell. He tried to say some calming words, but it didn't help the torture. When he heard the blood-curdling cry, his heart raced and he started to cry. It was over. Nothing would ever be the same again. This is the twist. Now, in a traditional story, the twist is a change in the story. My twist is a change in your perception. The doctor announced, "It's a girl. I can tell you two are going to be great parents. Congratulations." The new mom looked up at the teary-eyed husband and said, "I'm so glad you got home from deployment in time to see our daughter being born." As the two gazed at their little wonder, his wife added, "Geez, for such a big, tough soldier, you cry like a little baby." This one I was inspired to write because of the various English classes that I've been in over the years here. It seems that every year I wind up reading Romeo and Juliet again because I'm in another freshman class. So kudos to the freshman English teachers who read the same stories every year anyway. But if you're a freshman and you haven't read it yet, you're going to, and I have no spoilers in this. I was also inspired to write that. So I was inspired to write this. This one's called Juliet and Romeo. "Break a leg, Juliet," said the actor backstage. This traditional good luck wish was welcome and returned in kind. "Thanks, you too, Romeo." She reflects that he seems nice, and hopes to get to know him better during the next few weeks while their play is showing. The stage manager announces, "Places!" Juliet's mind races. "Whew, got to my spot just in time. This is so exciting. Opening night. I've looked forward to this opening night more than any other production I've ever done. Ever since I was a little girl and learned that I was named after Shakespeare's most beloved female character, I felt I was destined for this play. Shouldn't a real Juliet be doing this? Since I don't start until the third scene, I get to watch the beginning while I wait for my cue. Most of the people in the audience would be jealous if they could see what I could. And here's Romeo's cue." Benvolio says, "Good morrow, cousin." Romeo, Is the day so young? But news struck 9. I me, sad hours seem long. Ah, Romeo, his sadness over being in love with Rosaline just makes me want to give him a big hug. He is such a hopeless romantic. Scene 2 passes with Romeo and his friends on their way to Capulet's house for the masquerade party. Romeo has no idea that his love of Juliet will surpass any previous love that he has felt for anyone before her. The scene ends and Juliet waits in the darkness for her cue to start. Enter Juliet. How now? Who calls? Your mother. Madam, I am here. What is your will? The scene plays out well. Although this play is classic, when Romeo and Juliet meet for the first time at the party, the actors on the stage really were able to show what love at first sight must really look like. The stage lights lower as the famous balcony scene unfolds. A single spotlight is focused on Romeo as he recites his thoughts, watching Juliet through her bedroom window. When Juliet opens the balcony doors, her spotlight intensifies on her. Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Juliet's inner thoughts start to creep in as she fights to stay focused on what the audience can see. Is this spotlight unusually hot? Am I really starting to sweat? Maybe I'm more nervous than I thought. I have been really excited for tonight for this iconic scene, but I didn't think I would react like this. What's in a name that which we shall call a rose by any other word would smell as sweet? She starts thinking, mold isn't sweet, stinky cheese isn't sweet, poop isn't sweet. Would a rose really smell the same if we assigned these words to it? As her mind starts to drift away from the verse, she struggles to stay focused. I give thee mine word before thou didst request it, and yet I would it were to give again. Her thoughts distract her again. Just like Juliet to offer her love and devotion to some guy she just met. We are more alike than we should be. Maybe that's why my relationships are always so messed up. What? Wait, I have to stay focused. I can't let on that I'm starting to feel lightheaded. Must continue. Focus, Juliet. Good night, good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow that I shall say good night till it be morrow. Exit Juliet. I did it. I finished. In the darkness, she slumps to the floor. And here's the twist. The loud buzzing was starting to fade. Julie, you there? Wake up. She's coming too, guys. As the haze in her mind begins to clear, she can hear the clanking sound of other people running on the metal catwalk in the rafters above the audience. As it is getting louder, she recognizes the man trying to revive her. Tim, what happened? How long have I been like this? Tim starts to explain. As I had my spotlight on Romeo, I noticed that the spotlight you had on Juliet moved a couple of times. I looked over to you and I could see that you started gazing off a few times. Then you shook your head like you were waking up. The second you turned your spotlight off, I could see that you fainted. Once Romeo finished his last line, I ran over here. You have only been out for a few minutes. I immediately radioed for some help, and here they come. Once the four tech crew members verified that Juliet was fine, one of them checked out the spotlight and discovered that the inner fan had stopped working. He explained that it would have been the reason the spotlight had gotten so hot, causing its operator to faint. Then quickly decided to use the extra spotlight for the rest of the show. The stage manager came to see how Juliet was doing. Even though she assured the stage manager that she was fine, Juliet was told to rest and not to work for the rest of the show. She was given the one unsold seat in the audience to relax. That was an offer she chose not to refuse. Thank you.
All right, give him another round of applause while I get the other microphone working. All right. I I know there are a couple of questions that we probably have for these wonderful writers up here. But before you guys get a chance, I'm going to ask my question. What happened with your dog on Thanksgiving?
Oh, well, it wasn't on Thanksgiving. It was like in February. It was actually probably the week before Writers Week. Man, do I want to give away like the secret? What if I want to write it for later? All right, I'll tell you. How much time do I have? All right, I'll give you a teaser. The dog did something of interest. Come back to Writers Week next year and I'll tell you.
That's one way to assure another Writers Week invitation. All right, what kind of questions do you guys have for these folks up here? I think we'll need the lights up too. Go ahead, shout it out.
So it must have been 2015 then. So it wasn't this school year, I guess. I think in terms of school year, not calendar year, Aaron. So was that a who you crapping for me? That was it? All right, you got me. It was 4 months ago, not 8 months in the future.
Do we have any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
As a matter of fact, I do. Just kidding, I don't. I was gonna bring some lunch meat with me, but I don't want to get in trouble. So if I'm going somewhere where I don't know the dog, I always put, like, we have doggy treats for our 2 dogs now, and I'll put them in a Ziploc baggie and I'll keep that in my pocket. And then so if I come across like a dangerous canine, I just toss those out onto the floor in front of me. I'm not lying either.
All right, any other ones? Let's see. Oh, yes. Yep. The question is, are you a true dog lover or just eh?
Oh, is that, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I've never like been against dogs. We don't. My brother's allergic, so we never had any growing up. But like my friends have dogs, and that's cool. And like none of my friends ever had cats. So if I had to choose, I am a dog person then.
Oh, should I answer it?
I was not a dog person until we got our dog 11 years ago. 11-year-old Jack, black Labradoodle.
Answer the question now. I am not a dog person until I can trust that dog. And then when I can trust that dog, I'm a dog person. Otherwise, I'm a fish person.
If you know who you are, yes, yes. The question is, what was the name of the Monty Python movie that Mr. Cavalieri was going to see?
I think it was Monty Python and Now for Something Completely Different. It's the one where it opens up and, like, I don't know, like, there's like landmines going off or something like that, and then like, I don't know. I just thought it was the funniest thing in the world when I was a little kid. But I think it's Monty Python and Now for Something Completely Different. I don't know.
Okay. Way in the back over there. Okay, we want more details. What might have hypothetically happened to your dog one we I believe we have some seniors here who just need like a little teaser. I mean, they're not going to be here next year, right? Right? So they need to know a little something.
Fine. There is a live stream, though, by the way, people. All right. So I'm not going to go into the details because the comedy is in the details, but I'll tell you the general arc here. It's a Sunday. I can't wait to watch the Blackhawks. My mom runs into my room and like screams, "Get your coat on, get your coat on. Something's wrong or whatever." I'm like, "Yeah, right. Sure." Apparently, we had a choker chain on our dog that wasn't the one that's supposed to hurt. It's like where they interlock or whatever. And then as my dad was walking Rusty, he saw like a pack of deer, and then he lunged at him, and the collar snapped, and then so he got free. And then so the rest of the story involves us trying to find him. So there you go. That's as much as I'm going into detail.
Thank you for that, because I too wanted to know. All right, I think we have time for one more question. Yes?
Were you ever afraid that the lunch meat in your pocket would attract the dog?
That, and I wondered what people in class thought of you. Okay.
Well, that's why I would frisbee it out. So even if they were coming at me for that reason, then clearly they just want the bologna in my pocket. So as long as I frisbeed it far enough, I'd be all right.
All right, that concludes our hour. Have a great day, y'all.